energy update for September, and there's been so much light coming in. Have you felt that? Have you felt the higher vibrations? Have you felt a lightening? Have you felt a shifting? Understandably, if you haven't, that's okay, because what happens is when a bunch of light comes in, strong light, direct light, if we're still harboring onto things or going through stuff, it's going to stir that stuff. It's going to allow all that sort of darkness within us to arise and merge and kind of be this murky soup until it's noticed and processed and cleared, right? And so if that's where you are on your journey, then just understand that that's what's happening outside of all the artifice and chaos and illusions of life. And then on the other side of the spectrum, if you've been working hard on all that stuff and you're sort of coming through the other side, it doesn't feel for a lot of people like that other side is clear yet, or that you are on the other side, because that's just the world energy in terms of what's happening globally. For some people, that might be the case because that's where you're at, and maybe things are just, working out for you. So that's great. But generally speaking, at the moment, so what I'm feeling personally and other people with this light coming in is that it is creating an opening, and it's like light that allows air and light and knowing to come through the deepest crevices of your soul, right? And your soul has been yearning for so long. It's been calling to be heard and for your spoken word to come out, which for a lot of people it doesn't feel safe to express yourself, to speak, to be heard, right? And you might have these inner yearnings to allow your voice to be heard, and yet there's a suffocation of sorts. And that's sort of been the energy, overriding energy for quite some time now. So at this point on the journey, in September, it has allowed us to have a bit of a break in terms of that more intense feeling. Though some of you might still be feeling intensity, and as I explained, that makes sense. So for a lot of people, this sort of opening allows us to take a breath and just catch a break and be like, okay, what are the next steps? Let's prepare ahead again. What's also occurring is that because this light is of such a strong intensity in a way, although I don't know that that's quite the right word, so lack of a better word, a high level, let's just call it that way, of light. It is providing the opportunity for clarity, but also more rapid healing and progression forward, even though it doesn't feel like you're moving forward or to the degree that you would like, if that makes sense. So there's if you have the right intention, if you are focused and you're dialed in, you can start to make more progressive mini movements towards either the healing that's required in whatever particular department, or the direction that you want to take in whatever department in various aspects of your life. And I feel that it's manifold. So right now the angels are showing me, actually they're making me kind of put my hand out, my palm, to show me my 5 fingers splayed, meaning 5 directions. They actually, joking right now, it's actually a 5-month in a 5-year numerologically, so that's the added message there. And 5 is all about accelerated change and shifting, and kind of it can be a roller coaster too, but it's not like the roller coaster of before that you might have experienced, where it's really, really, really intense and so emotional and all that stuff, right? It's just snappy changes from even in a day, within a few days, right? But the first intention of the 5 fingers was to show each finger represents a line in your life, and because my hand is splayed out like a fan, like stretched out as far as they can go, it's showing the width and the breadth of each direction and possibility. So it's not closed in and limited, it's rather here are all the different possibilities we can take. And on some level, I know that something resonates on some level with you in terms of the changes and shifts that you want to make. Outside of all the global chaos, the core message is to go within to your core, to be a rock within yourself, and know that all the truth, all the answers, all the realness is within you, within your body. Your body speaks truth, it speaks intuition, it speaks of the directions that you want to go. It's your inner core. That's where your stability is, as unstable as you might otherwise feel. So because everything has been so rocky and unstable in your world, in that world, the message here is be the rock. So that rockiness can be a rock. The rock is always there, but it's felt like before our rock was wedged in all this sort of rockiness, cracked, bumpy surface that is not linear and that changes and moves and makes us feel so unstable. And they're saying, be the rock. And now picture, envision your trunk firmly rooted, firmly grounded, firmly anchored in the ground. Your rock is whole, it's core, it's substantial, it's heavy in a way in that it's solid, grounded, unwielding in a way that is not an unwielding as in stubbornness, but rather as in so anchored and true, like your whole body, soul, core essence counts on it, that this is the truth of who you are and that's where you're coming from. So as you go within and you go to your core, that's where everything clicks in, because everything outside of your core or can seem like an illusion or lies, or that's all the rockiness, that's all the uncertainty and all the mayhem going on in the world, right? The fear and all that stuff. So be the core, go to your core and know at a core level that this is your truth. And that's where, as you connect with the current energies, that's where they're taking you. And it's funny because some people think, okay, we're going to be taken for a ride. We're going to, like go on this journey. But the journey is not outwards, it's within. It's coming back. It's like spiraling within, back to yourself, back to your core. And that's where you are. It's who you are. And that's where you'll find your eternal sense of presence. And in that sense of presence, you will be in the present moment. And that's where all lies, all truth lies. All energy is at 0 point, is at perfection, completion, wholeness, when you are there in that core, in the present moment. And that's when you can access all divine knowledge. So the way to convert that feeling of unknown, such as, I don't know what's happening in the world, I'm getting stress and anxiety about what's happening, there's no certainty in my life, there's no certainty in the planet as a whole, let alone in my personal life, let alone in all the departments of my life, and hence the 5 splayed fingers, right? You could say each finger is a category of life: work, family, home, spirituality, self, which can include your mental, emotion, and, spiritual stuff, whatever. Like there's all these categories, right? And you might feel like you have 10, 15, 20 categories. You might feel like you've only got a few. But in essence, the message is, instead of, for example, feeling like I am absolutely floating in unknownness and this is causing me so much grief and anxiety and I'm getting all choked up and I don't know what I'm doing or where I am. Do you see how that's not in the present moment? So then instead, flip it, come to the present moment. Be within yourself, your core essence, your soul. Sit with yourself. Spend that time on self. Breathe, and you will find that you will come to this full sense of completion and wholeness. And there's a certainty within yourself that you cannot explain. It's felt, it just is. And that overrides any mental, emotional, or whatever sense of insecurity. Then you can start to feel more secure because you're more whole rather than fragmented and out of balance. And as you come back to your core essence, you are more grounded as well. And so a grounded sense of rootedness is that solid rock rather than the unstable ground. You might find that you go through periods where you have these pockets of hope and faith and lightness and light and goodness and cheer and all that stuff. And then there's some opposition, or you feel so if you think of it as the hope and the good feelings are like a round circle, and the completion that I talked of prior, and then the constrictions with, the current state of affairs of the world, or whatever's going on in your city, or whatever in your work or financial or whatever. It's like a square, it's limited, it's constrictive, right? And so allow the pockets of hope to lighten you up and to free you in your soul and to come back to core essence. And then when the squares happen, push the walls of the square further away so that it's not so tight and constrictive and so close to you that you feel like your room, your space, your body, the whole world is closing in on you, right? So flip it. So we want to push out those walls, push them further away, and then that allows some space to come in where you can sit with yourself and be free within yourself and breathe and have space. And really, quite literally, it's like being in a room where you feel there's space, and you just feel it's just the right amount of space to breathe and be and not have people around you or walls closing in on you or anything like that, and you just feel the sense of freeness, versus a constricted small cubby space, right, where everything's closing in on you, right, which lockdown can make a lot of people feel as it is. A lot of the messages of recent times, including the last several months, including last year actually, I feel like it's all coming up to the surface now, or more like coming up to a sense of fruition if you're really paying attention, or at least for some people, they'll be on the eve of beginning this. But the message I want to say here is fine-tuning where you want your energy to be. Fine-tuning where you want your attention to be, your focus, your direction. We've had these messages over the years, have boundaries, start to not see people who like shrink you up and make you feel drained and are negative, or, not doing the work that, leaving the job that doesn't inspire you, makes you feel squashed and out of sorts and all that kind of thing. And so the larger message here is, we've been learning this last year and this year, is to break free from the constrictions, break free from what we once knew or thought was right, what other people thought was right, what society or religion or systems or whatever it is for your personal life, that we're breaking free from that sense of constriction, control, and like this illusion of who we are and what we're meant to do and who we're meant to be in this world. So really allow the messages that you've been receiving in your heart, those feelings that have been stirring within you, allow them to speak to you, allow yourself to go there, address and embrace those emotions, those knowings, even if it's scary, because yes, it's scary. A lot of the time it is, but they lead you somewhere. It's your voice calling you, and they will allow you to grow. Because if you keep being and doing that old way that feels like a lie or an illusion or a facade or just doesn't feel good, that makes you feel unwell on whatever level, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or all of the above, physically even, because often it will come to the physical point if we ignore. So allow yourself to feel into it, and that allows you to bloom and reach up and be like a new seed, a new growth, leaning in. You're leaning into the truth, you're leaning into your core essence, and allow yourself, be brave to take the steps. And that might at the beginning just be taking some notes, journaling your thoughts and feelings. It might be small changes, but do it. Make those small changes. You don't have to take one massive leap now, and it's not about having a thought quickly and just leaping sort of without feeling things through completely. It's just take the steps, and then once you take those steps, see what next steps will be there before you, and you might be surprised. Okay, so I feel are the core messages that are wanting to come through. Outside of that, we have this is the time of the equinox, around the 21st roughly, We've got a whole heap of retrogrades happening at the moment, but it doesn't feel super retrograde-y. It's like quite amazing actually. So anyway, the big one, Mercury retrograde, that we often talk about, lots of people talk about, is coming up. So we're starting to move into that shadow phase. If you're feeling stuck, start to unstuck yourself somewhere in your life. If everything feels stuck, start somewhere. For example, you feel like physically unwell or like you haven't been exercising, go for a walk. Just 5-10 minutes even. It could be anything. It could be, let's say, work, I don't know what direction to take. Money, family, woes, relationships, whatever sense of not having a purpose or not knowing the next direction, all that stuff. Start to do something, right? Write something down, clear up some of your space. So for example, clear your office out, and then you'll see how the clarity will come in because you've taken a step. And it can be a micro step. It can be one little step every day. That's how you start, and that's how change can start to manifest and happen, because there's a reorientation of the energy. And with your focus, determination, and your intention, that change, you will receive the intuition, you will receive the miracle even sometimes, or just that little thing that gets you going on the next track, right? And that's what it's about. So trust in that and take a step today. And I look forward to talking to you again next month and all the exciting things coming up in the future too. Thank you for listening, and lots of love, and talk soon.